And welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we're on iRacing for round 3 of the Apex Esports League Spec Racer Ford Challenge. Tonight's track is Fennec Raceway Road Course. So tonight's session we have 10 minutes of practice followed by 10 minutes of qualifying, and then the race is 40 minutes. Then we have cap fuel at 47.5% fuel, so we'll require a mandatory pit stop. Weather is partly cloudy. It's a standing start with double file back for restarts, and the humidity is 25%. So the results after round 2, we have Blake Urquhart leading the championship just ahead of Sebastian Vandel. So Sebastian moving up and doing pretty well last week, considering there were some incidents. So Aaron Thompson managed to actually start climbing up towards Sebastian's points. So we had Blake Urquhart after qualifying second take victory. We did see Sebastian lead for a good portion. He was involved in a couple of incidents and managed to claw his way back up to a pretty good position in number 4. We're missing a few drivers last week as well. So we had Aaron Thompson take second place and Matt debuting with us last week taking third place. So jumping over to the track now. And then drivers out in practice. Hey Mick, thanks for joining us for the stream. There's going to be a fair bit of action with Phoenix Raceway. Drivers mentioning in the Discord chat they're having a few issues with learning the track and getting a few tricky corners. If you do join us for the stream, be sure to jump in the chat, say hello. And if you haven't done so, hit that follow button. We appreciate the growing support for Apex Esports League. Some information for my screen so I can jump around and see what we have on track. So first time's coming through on the board at the moment. Blake setting a 108.8. I think from the chats, I think it was about 104. Some of the times that the drivers were getting. Of course, our championship leader, Blake Urquhart, over with MSR. And in the matching car is Sebastian Vandel. We've just had Aaron Thompson come through with a 107, nearly flat. That's a pretty quick time. Hopefully Sebastian has some better luck this week. He got caught up with some back markers last week, causing incident that ended up costing him having to head into the pits to deal with some damage. We also have Bruce Robinson, car number 888. Can't quite make out what the pictures are on the side of that car. And Matt doing very well with his opening race with Apex Esports League, taking a spot on the podium. And we had Aaron Thompson take podium last week as well. He did mention it was his first podium, so big congratulations. Hopefully some good racing tonight ends up seeing him up towards that top end again. And Mark Horton in the matching clutch kickers. And we have Mick cheering on for the clutch kickers. Mark's come through for the quickest time. He wasn't able to race with us last week with some injuries. And he's back at it for it this week, and he was getting some pretty solid pace from the lap times he was saying in the practice sessions before last week's round. So he would have been a very strong competitor for last week. Hopefully wish him all the best with it tonight. We're missing Robbie Bradbury last week as well. So he's able to make it again this week, so it's good to see him back on track. And his matching team car is Stephen Banks, who hasn't been able to make it into the session. lucky, may see him jump on later. Potentially a little bit of a slide there for Robbie, no damage. So he should be able to just flip that car back around. And Aaron Maguire hasn't set a time on there yet, he's had that car parked up. Quickest time is 1:06, nearly flat. There's not much difference between Mark and Aaron, only 0.04. It is a very close lap time. So we have the clutch kickers showing some very strong pace, very consistent between the two. We'll jump on board for a lap with someone in a moment as well. We might jump on board with Mark. So, just start of the lap now. He's going to bring that into the... He's managing this corner. Very nice line. See, the front on these cars are very flighty. You have to be very cautious with the throttle. These things are just essentially oversized go-karts. They're a lot of fun to drive. There was a marginal update for the car just recently as well, since I think it was during the week. I haven't been on to actually have a go with the car. Not sure if it has affected any of the physics. It's getting that car up to about 175, 180, fully straight. So I think we saw 186 just as he crossed the line. That was a very tidy lap by Mark. We'll be having qualifying open now. Drivers peeling out pretty quickly. I think that is Blake first to get out onto the track. Can be a little bit tricky heading out onto the track from pit lane as well. Can be very confusing. Hopefully we don't see any penalties being applied for drivers who may not be aware of track direction and the pit exit. Have set the qualifying restrictions to be quite lenient, so it's not going to ping them and DQ them too much. So try and keep an eye on things and make sure no one gets a black flag for it. If you do join us for the stream, don't forget we have those sound effects underneath the stream. You can play a variety of different sound effects to cheer on your favourite drivers and other fun sounds to be able to complement the race as it progresses. So do have some fun and make the stream your own. And don't be afraid to jump on into the chat and let us know who you think is going to take pole position and who will take the win. See Mark dominate in the qualifying, as we just saw with the very quick times he was setting in the practice. Drivers trying to get a bit of temp into those tyres ready for their first hot lap. Notice our social media links down at the bottom of the screen. We have our Facebook page, so that's where we post all our results and standings. That way you can... Oh, a little bit cold still on those tyres as Sebastian goes in pretty quickly. He did get a time in, a 1:05. That's a pretty quick qualifying time. Blake that also follows suit with a 1.8 off that pace. That's a very good lap to open up with. This lap around isn't going to be the best for him after the broad slide coming down into turn 1. If you want to be able to keep up to date with how your favourite driver is going, you can follow the results on our Facebook page. It is all set to public, so you do not need an account. You can actually just head on and scroll through our history on the page and see the posts as they go up. Usually try and get them up a few days after the race, and any incident reports will be posted on there. If we see some spectacular crashes and some very testing incidents occur, you can see how the post-race stewarding has decided what went on and the reason for any penalties, if any, applied. I'll be playing just cautiously in the car at the moment. Looks like he may have taken a bit of a hit to that front right. Still keeping the car out. There's just over 5.5 minutes left. Oh, there's another hit. That's a hard hit. He's going to have to bring the car in. He's got a little bit of time to get back out on track. Hey, Gallen, thanks for joining us. They are just basically go-karts with a shell. They handle just the same. They're a good fun thing to drive these. Aaron's also taken a hit to that front right. I think it might be a little bit of wall contact as they're coming around the bend. It's a little bit of a tricky one to try and navigate, and as I was mentioning before, these cars are very flighty in the front. It's like they just essentially cruise around in a wheel stand. They don't really hold down too much in the front, especially when they're getting these corners and hitting up on that curb. They start to lose a lot of grip in that front end. That's why it's crucial for that throttle control in these cars to make sure that they can get it through the corner nice and safe. We have Sebastian still holding a very good time. He's come through another second quicker, which was very lucky as Blake came through with only half a second off of his time. Gallen, they definitely handle a lot better. He heads into the pits. We'll have to jump around for a lap with someone else who is out on track still. Jump on board with Matt. The spec race is much easier to drive than those Group A's. A little bit of action going on. I'm not sure who that was, whether that was Aaron Maguire's car or Bruce Robinson's. They're both in white cars, I think. Suspension as we take this floor. Drivers get very close. You can see as they get up over the curb. This is where we saw Sebastian slide out onto lap 2. This is the wall where I'm pretty sure they have made contact a couple of times. See that front bouncing around as it gets up over the curb. So there's just over 2.5 minutes left of qualifying, and that wall is awful close there. Might be a pretty quick lap. 105.5, that's pretty quick. We got 2 minutes left. Sebastian still holds pole time. Traffic. As Blake and Sebastian get around, I think both have taken some damage. Sebastian's car showing a fair bit of damage to it. Yeah, that's for sure, Gallon, I think. NASCAR series will be good. We're going to be running NASCARs and iRacing as well, which is going to be very exciting. Not sure about the default setups for the NASCAR. I've got to check just to make sure it's not going to cause problems with it being on the road courses. We could potentially be stuck with oval setups, having to try and run on road courses. You're not sure where Stephen is. Last week he did let me know that he wasn't able to make it. Haven't heard from him during the week or tonight. If he is able to join late, he'd be able to start from the pits. However, it's probably going to be unlikely. Century Motorsports KFC doesn't have their two drivers. They've been having the double ups of all the liveries around on the track, which has been pretty neat to see. So we're probably going to have to look at adding a team championship to iRacing at some stage. Blake has got only 0.236 away from Sebastian's pace. That is the last chance to get that lap done. Does he have enough to get through? He gets bumped down, so Mark Horton just sneaks in with a very nice time. Drivers have only got a short amount of time to wrap up this lap before the session ends. We have Sebastian Varndell taking pole, Mark Horton taking second place, with Blake Urquhart starting from number 3, followed by Matt Aaron Thompson, Aaron Maguire, Bruce Robinson and Robbie Bradbury. Session will end very shortly. I don't think there's going to be much time for him to actually be able to complete this lap and see if that improves it. It's actually going to give him time. No, it does not improve that. So that was a 106. A few drivers driving around. Sebastian getting as much practice as he can, so these times aren't going to be counting for him. There we are. He's just keeping out on track, getting as much practice as he can before that session ended. Drivers have got a little bit of time to hit that grid button. So if we can get a nice angle to the start. The countdown. The drivers got a minute 10 to hit the button. We got everyone except for Robbie, I think that's hit it. Yeah, we got some front row seats now from the stadium. And it is quite neat. You can actually get a lot of third-party camera packs for iRacing. So you can get actual spectator views where it'll be a fixed camera from standing in the actual grandstands. There's lots of nifty spots. And then some where they've even tried to recreate where the actual cameras are. So we've just had everyone hit grid. So we'll be getting the countdown now. We're ready to start round 3. And green flag, and away we go. A little bit of a delayed start from the front. Mark didn't get away as quick as Sebastian. Blake's and Oil taking advantage of that, but he's going to be blocked off coming in the turn 1. We're side by side with Bruce and Aaron in 6th and 7th. They've now gone down in single file. It's a pretty good, clean start to the race. Sebastian is pulling away nicely. That was a very good start. Mark Horton has Blake Urquhart starting to close that gap in on him pretty quick. He's managing to pull away a lot quicker in that sector than Blake was. Make sure he can get a good run on into the oval section of the track. He's a decent amount of space away, so he's not going to be offering too much slipstream advantage to Blake behind him. Fair bit of space already from our drivers going for half a lap. A little bit of wall contact by Aaron Maguire as he come out onto the main straight. Aaron has dropped back into 8th position. Blake showing a lot more pace in that last sector compared to Mark. He did close that gap in. After turn 1 and 2, Mark seems to be a lot quicker. He's now closing in on Sebastian and almost looking to go for an inside line as he heads into that hairpin. I think it would have been carrying way too much speed to attempt a safe pass at that stage. Gets around him. That is a very tidy pass on that hairpin. They're side by side coming down onto the oval. Sebastian keeps very outside. He's going to try and slip around him here. Mark's going to have to block him. They're narrow. He's just had a nice slingshot down into turn 1, but he's going to have a lot of speed. He's had to stay out very wide, but then Mark has just locked it up. That's going to be an issue. He's going to make contact with... That was Blake's car. There's a fair bit going on. Contact going everywhere. Who else has spun out? He's managed to get back on track fairly well. That's a bit unfortunate for Blake taking some damage. We had some similar issues last week. Turned around car coming down in front of Sebastian, this time happening to Blake. And Mark had the much nicer line in that corner as well. And he did set the fastest lap. It was straight up a 105, so we're seeing very quick lap. That's going to be very lucky for Sebastian. He's going to be able to get ahead now. He's lucky it wasn't too much instant, as a safety car could have potentially come out and that would have closed that gap down in on him. He's hit that curb pretty hard. That's really slowed him down. We have Aaron Maguire currently up in 3rd position. Oh, we've just had Matt drop back a few positions. Not sure what happened. He dropped several spots. He's just gone for a slide. So too quick coming down through that corner. It is quite a tricky one. So we have Sebastian now leading by 3.1 seconds. His teammate Blake for MSR in position 2. Aaron Maguire up in position 3. He's 4 seconds behind Blake currently. And he's also got a nice little safety net between him and Robbie Bradbury, who's moved up into 4th position. Aaron Thompson's giving him some real big pressure on the straight. This is the corner where things went wrong for Mark. This is where we saw Matt spin out as well. I think we've just had Bruce Robinson retire out. He may have taken some damage. So, showing as an off track, not quite sure what happened. Aaron getting well ahead of Robbie now. Matt starting to close in on Robbie. Fastest lap just been set by Sebastian, 104.988. We'll try and find out what happened with Bruce before retiring out. So he'd spun off into the wall. If he may have even suffered a disconnect. Seemed to have been racing pretty well before things going wrong. He may have suffered a disconnect potentially. And Sebastian furthering that lead, keeps coming through with the fastest laps. He's going to really push out this gap over Blake. He's going to need a win to try and catch back up with the championship points after having some bad luck last week and dropping into 4th position. However, he did have that huge pace. Ooh, a little bit of a slip, a little bit too quick. That's where he took that very wide line when him and Mark were both contesting. However, it was actually Mark that ended up spinning out. I was almost expecting Sebastian to. That's a very wide line for Blake. You can see he's taken that damage to that front end as well. That was from where Mark did spin around. Aaron Maguire still up in 3rd position. Aaron Thompson still in 4th position, and he has Robbie starting to close that gap in on him. Is now only 1.2 seconds away. Last lap around by Aaron was a 106.441. Robbie Bradbury a 106.538. A fair bit of movement in lap times with Robbie compared to Aaron. He's pretty solid in getting consistent 106.4 range, which is why he's managing to hold Robbie off at this stage. Some of these camera shots aren't the best for seeing. Let's see if we can get some so close ones. And that has Mark Horton looking to climb back up through the rungs. He's wanting to get back up towards that front end. He had a lot of pace to be able to be staying out in that front if he didn't have that slide. Can he make up for it and try and close in? It's lap 7, there's 31 minutes remaining, and there will be a pit stop required. Ooh, a little bit of rubbing going on at the back between Mark and Matt. And there's a spin. That's pretty big.
Caution, yellow flag.
So we'll have the safety car going out. So not sure. Try and find the actual That's in the cause. So they had locked up. So we'll have a couple of laps as they reform up, ready for the restart. That's going to have Blake right on the tail of Sebastian. If he can keep these consistent laps up, I'm sure he's going to get back out in front. It's going to allow Aaron and Aaron, the two Aarons, to catch up. So it'll be 2 to green. If you are joining us for the stream, don't forget to jump in the chat and say hello. And hit that follow button if you haven't done so yet. So pit lane is open, so they're going to make the most of it. Let's see who stayed out. So we'll have Matt currently leading it. By the time they get back out, they should be able to catch up in time. So pit lane will be closed at the end of this lap as they get ready to restart. Sebastian and Blake back out on track. Sebastian getting out just behind Blake in the stop as well. Looks like Mark also decided to opt in for a pit. It should probably be enough that they'll have just enough fuel to get through. Aaron looking to try and keep some temp into those tyres as he gets ready for it to go green. Driver's trying to get those brakes a little bit hotter as well. It's amazing how quickly these things will cool down on the 2 safety laps. Yes, that's right, Mick. There's big chance for Mark to now be in it. He has had to fall back to the back of the group, but here they have served their pit, and if that is enough fuel to last out, we could easily see Blake, Sebastian and Mark all peel off to the front. Must be another time around. I thought there would be one more. It can be quite very long safety laps. We did have contact made last week. Sebastian making contact. I can't remember who it was. I think it was with Lachlan on the safety lap. So he was getting waved up. And then as they were weaving, accelerated as the others stopped and made some contact. So they do need to play very cautiously on the safety lap. If these drivers can really nail their rolling start, they can get a big advantage. These can't pass before the check flag line. They have to wait. Now he can push those boundaries pretty well. Sebastian is quite good at the restarts, so watch out for Sebastian to weave up through the pack pretty quickly at the start. However, it's going to be tricky coming down the turn one with a lot more speed. The grid start was much safer to be able to take that section. So they'll be getting up to a bit more pace now as they come on to approach. Pace car will peel in this lap. Seems forever with this safety lap. So that was an extra minute on top, minute 10 it's taking. So the last lap then it was 2 minutes 15 to get around. So it is double file. So Matt and Aaron, in comes the safety car, he should. Here he comes, very late to peel in. Matt's the lead of the race, and it's a very good way to get away. You can see that's Blake, I think, is sneaking up along the inside of Aaron Maguire. He's going to be side by side coming down into turn one. That is pretty tight. Almost free wide down along the mid-pack. Blake looking to get away pretty quick, considering Blake started from the back end of the restart. He's now up into P2. Mark Horton in P3. Oh, and he's gone for the slide. He's going to make some wall contact just. Won't be a safety car, but that sees him back towards the back end. He's not having a whole lot of luck. Those tyres would have been quite cool as he did pit in, so probably swapped out the rubber. Sebastian not making his way up through the field as quickly as the others. But Mark's still not out of the race yet. He's still within reach. That was a very lucky spin. Comes down for... Oh, there's a little bit of slip in that car. That front end isn't holding down. Up into that curb. Matt had a lot more pace coming down through that corner. And it's getting pretty close between two Aarons and Sebastian. Each taking a separate line around the hairpin. Thompson for clutch kickers, looking to get around. Aaron Maguire just gets him in, but I think that'll be a switchback. That's a spin out in front of Sebastian. That is lucky they recovered not too badly. Sebastian probably having flashbacks of last week's round. Car's turning around in front of him. He's had a lot of bad luck with it. He managed to recover from that reasonably well. And Matt Serio moves up into P1. Oh, Blake just giving him a rub. That was very close. Matt having massive pace around the corner. You can see where Blake had to back off. He started to slip, so he had to let go of that throttle. Blake looking to try and get around. Loses a little bit of pace hitting that curb. Matt finding a very solid, smooth line. That car's just laying down onto that racing line. Might be a little bit quick here. This is where we saw Mark spin last lap. We have Aaron and Sebastian also battling it out. Matt's really starting to pull away on Blake. Last lap was a 106.6 by Matt and a 107 flat for Blake. He's not as quick down in this corner. This is where we saw Blake start to give that little bit of a rub on the tail end, where he came through a lot quicker. Matt not so quick down through turn one. Definitely quicker through this section of the track. He locks that back right, coming around the hairpin. And Matt has not been into the pits. We've seen about 20 seconds for a pit stop, so I think they did top the car up with fuel. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to get them through. Could potentially conserve. Matt's not giving up on Blake. He's still managing to hang in. The two much stronger in very different sectors. We have at the start of Sector 1 where Blake is much more dominant. Then we see Matt start to catch up for the remainder. Blake really getting up onto that curb, and he seems to shave a fair bit of speed off. Yet he avoids that curb, and we see Matt hit it and get through, but then he seems to be locking up around here. He did the same spot last lap. This is where Blake starts to pull away. Last lap by Blake was a 105.8. Fastest lap of the race is a 104.988, and that is by Sebastian. So Sebastian just got up alongside of Matt as well. Matt made a crucial error. Really had to back off speed, and that's allowed Sebastian to move up into... Actually, I'm getting the wrong car there. That's Aaron Maguire. Sorry, he's getting around. I was looking at the wrong names and wrong gaps. Sebastian moves back up into P3. And now in position 4. Robbie Bradbury currently in 5th position. Aaron Thompson just getting into the pits now. And a very quick, he's still in the pits. So Matt now has dropped down into 4th position. And moving up into position 3. Only 2 cars not yet to head into the pits. There's Aaron Maguire and Matt Tessero. If I'm getting Matt's name correct, I did forget to check up with him on the pronunciation for that, so I apologise if you're watching back on this, Matt. Just pull me up on it in Discord, and I'll make sure I get it right for you. So, a bit of spacing going on now. We have Blake leading the race by 4.8 seconds. However, at the moment we have Sebastian Vandel a good second quicker each lap. There's 17 minutes remaining. Can Sebastian get back up into the front at this pace? It's definitely probably going to be the case. That's probably not the 2 best words, definitely probably, but I think he will be getting up there and battling out Blake. We've seen some good last lap battles between the two before. Have Matt currently in 4th position, 3 seconds behind Aaron. He's got at least good 8 seconds between him and 5th position with Robbie Bradbury. Aaron Thompson, having just been in the pits, now in 6th position. He's 57 seconds behind the race leader. Mark currently 2 laps down. A little bit slippery again. Mark having some issues. I was going to see him drop back again. I'm pretty sure that was Blake that just went around. Unfortunately for Mark, he was having some amazing pace. Didn't slow up Blake. However, that gap between him and Sebastian is closing very quickly. Sebastian half a second quicker than Blake that time around. And that is lap 19. There's 15 minutes remaining. So past the halfway point. All drivers have been in and pit. However, we had Mark, Blake and Sebastian all pit under the safety lap. Could potentially have to see them head back in if it's not going to be enough fuel. We've seen Sebastian barely make it in round one, running out of fuel coming on approach into the final straight, and then losing that potential race win to Blake as all power was lost as he had to roll across the finish line, with Blake managing to pass him. That was a very exciting lap to watch. So, got Matt and Aaron starting to close in on each other just a bit. Actually, I think my timings may be showing a little bit. My timings are showing some odd things. Yes, they are 7 seconds apart, so you can easily see that now, so that you can see just how tricky this odd hairpin is. So we're seeing a fair bit of speed being lost by most drivers, and this is where a fair few turnarounds have occurred coming down onto the oval section of the track. Now you're gun and you're doing it from controller as well. Oh, a little bit of slip going on for Blake. He's struggling with his car. That's a lot of fighting. Still fighting this car. Not sure if these rubbers may be starting to wear out on him a fair bit. Track temperatures could be quite warm. It seems like the weather conditions have cleared up. Yeah, Mickey, you're very quick out there. To be getting on the podium on Project Cars 2 with a controller against our guys, especially in the Group A's, that is a feat. It is spectacular stuff. We will be having a sponsor for our Renault Sport series as well. They'll be announced in the coming days as I update all the events, and there's a fantastic prize on board for that. So it'll be good to have a fantastic prize for our console drivers. So keep your eyes out on the page. Sebastian still closing that gap in. He's now 2.7 seconds away from Blake. He's a good second quicker still consistently. You can see him just around the corner now. Let's make our way for the rest of the field. Mark currently is 3 laps down. Aaron Thompson in 6th position, 62 seconds behind. Robbie Bradbury currently in 5th position. It's 30 seconds ahead of Aaron. It's a little while to catch up to Matt, who was doing very well out in front for a good while. It's starting to lose a fair bit of pace. Having to pit, he would have been very light on fuel. He has not pit yet. Same with Aaron Maguire. He does need to pit as well. So Matt just getting fueled up now. Sebastian closing in on Blake. These guys have usually been a 1-2 combination. They are very similar pace to each other. And Sebastian is super focused. He is sporting a little bit of damage to the car. I'm not sure if that's been knocked out damage from before. If he did take more. And we had Mark turn around in front of him a fair few laps back. He's closing that gap in massive now. He's only 1.2 seconds away. For the roll bar of the Spec Racer. Fair bit of tyre spill coming down into that sharp left-hand corner. Blake carried a lot more speed coming down into the final corner. Sebastian a lot quicker down in through corner one. Oh, it's a slide. This is where we saw Blake really battling the car out. I wouldn't be surprised if the tread on these tyres is not so good at the moment. Get on for a cockpit view just to see how they are actually going out. You can see the dent in his car. You can see how much these cars bounce. And those curves are quite high. They get very close to that wall, nearly scrapes it. Still closing that gap in, it's less than a second between the two. Eight minutes remain. Aaron's yet to head into the pits as well. It's currently in third position. Pit stops have been about 21 seconds and 20 seconds added on to the out lap. So we're 40 seconds of having to pit. That's going to allow Robbie Bradbury to catch up a position. He has been in pit. He's done the quickest pit stop as well, only 10.4 seconds. Next quickest time is a 20.6, which was done by Blake. And that was when Blake, Sebastian and Mark all head off when the race was under caution. Blake's going to be in a bit of trouble. There is 7 minutes remaining and Sebastian is keen to get around. Look at him carry this extra speed down onto the straight. It's going to be pretty hard to try and hold line coming down to turn one. This is where we saw him battle the car out. He's had to go out wide to try and get that car back under control. Side by side, almost locked up. He is in a very bad position to maintain that grip. That front end was not holding. Sebastian needing to have another crack at getting around Blake. 6.5 minutes remaining now. It's lap 27. So he should be another 5 and a bit laps remaining, and he gets up alongside him in the same spot again. He's going to have to try and move over and block Blake's position and maintain that line. He goes for that more inside line again, but he's going to have to drift out. Blake losing that car a little bit. So does Sebastian. He runs off wide. These two are probably skating out there at the moment with these tyres. And I would imagine fuel load would be very light. So we've had Blake lead 13 of the 28 laps. Sebastian had led for 8 of the 28. We also had Matt leading for 5 laps and Mark Horton leading for 2. So a fair bit of exchanging going on out on the track. And Sebastian definitely quicker in that sector. He's deja vu, 3rd time around. These two never surprised for a end of race show. Not sure if it's deliberate or not. It almost looks like it's choreographed sometimes, seeing these two out there, because they are so similarly paced and similar driving style. So they actually have to fight each other. It's going to be spinning, just scrapes through. That was close. That was very tight. Let's see if we can jump on board and see the... Super close, narrowly avoids that side of the car. That was crazy close. So Blake takes a lead again. There's just under 4 minutes remaining. There's a 4-second gap between the two now. All drivers have been in and pit. So it's allowed Robbie Bradbury to move up into position 3. Him having the very quick pit stop, definitely saving a lot of time. Allowing him to gain a position. I don't think Blake's going to be out of it just yet. With Sebastian showing at least a second quicker per lap, he'll be able to close that 4-second, well, sorry, nearly 3.5 seconds now. The position board is a little bit slower than the real-time data that I get to see. So he's got that down to 3.2 seconds, 3.1 currently, it's closing. This is the section where Sebastian has a lot more pace. It's less than 3 seconds now. There's probably 3 laps left in the race. We have Blake Urquhart only leading by 2.7 seconds. Mark Horton currently 3 or 4 laps down to the live gap as Blake will cross the line. Aaron heading back into the pits again. I think he did pit rather early. He's also probably needed to get some more fuel. So he's in 6th position. Aaron Thompson in 5th position. But doing well. Still moved back up into 4th. He's been in and served his pit. Robbie currently 49 seconds behind our race leaders. Sebastian looking to get up and have another go at getting around Blake. It could potentially be a last lap battle. He's now got that gap down to 1.6 seconds. Across the line, our data will add up. Yes, now it shows at 1.6 on the position board. There'll be enough time for these guys to get around for this one lap, and you can see Blake really battling this car out. There would be not a lot of fuel in it. So hitting those curbs are going to be very dangerous. The last lap we had Sebastian 1.2 seconds quicker. closing this in. It's going to be a last lap fight again. And we did see this before between these two on the last lap. It was only lost out by Sebastian due to running out of fuel on approach to the finish line. They're probably going to make several exchanges on this final lap. This is where Sebastian has a huge pace. Once this countdown goes, the game will determine whether there's enough time to have one more lap in it. That's all based on server time. So if the guys grid a little bit quicker and we don't have the full countdown go, we can usually have it no. So white flag is waved. It is the last lap. This is now or never for these two. It's going to be a fierce battle. Sebastian making some contact, giving his mate a nudge on the tail. Giving him a knock. Goes a very wide line. This is where Sebastian carries a lot of speed. He's going to have to be able to use this and slingshot around. He's not going to have another corner to contend with. This will be a win for him. This is going to carry plenty of speed to get across. He's going to have to play defensive and not allow a slingshot to be done by Blake. That's a win for Sebastian. Crosses the line. 1-2 for MSR. Well done. Oh, was that Blake that just got ahead? That was pretty close. I thought that was Sebastian then. It was, sorry. My timing has just changed. Unless he was wearing any post-race time penalties that can also occur. So then we have Robbie coming up to finish on the podium in third position. Let's just finish up as well. So we'll be talking to our podium winners as well. So be sure if you want to ask any questions, we will be doing that. Congratulations, Robbie. Aaron in 5th position. Aaron Maguire in 6th. Mark Horton in 7th. And we of course had Bruce retire early on, and some burnouts being done by these guys. Having some fun in the cars out there. So there we have the conclusion to round 3. Sebastian Van Del taking the win, followed by Blake Urquhart. So Sebastian will be very happy with himself with that result, especially after the bad luck from last week. And then Robbie Bradbury also on the podium in position 3, followed by Matt, Aaron Thompson, Aaron Maguire, Mark Horton and Bruce Robinson. So well done to all drivers. Hopefully we get a couple of our missing drivers in for round 4. So I will be inviting in our drivers in just a moment. Just got to unmute these guys and we'll have them. Hey Sebastian, Blake, we got you in there.
Surely do, mate.
Yep. What a last couple of laps between you guys again. I was almost expecting one of you to run out of fuel across the line and do a repeat of round 1.
Oh, mate, what a race that was. That was a good race in between the team, mate. But we gave room to each other, and I kind of hit the fence. Probably 4 laps to go or something, and then after that, she all went down, and every time I wanted to go right, she just wanted to sit on the limiter. So, but yeah, good win to Sebastian, and yeah, come back next week.
Yeah, that was very fierce watching that battle between you guys and watching Sebastian close in real quickly and then exchanges, and it was real close, almost making contact between the two of you as well with that slide coming down around turn 1.
Yeah, that was close.
That was really close. Went back to the replay just to see how much was between you. It was probably an inch or more. It wasn't not much to it. Could have gone badly for the two of you.
I could have went wrong, but you know, as I said, well deserved by Sebastian, and I've finally got someone to beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's broken the streak, I think. It was 5 consecutive wins for the V8 supercars. And then, yeah, for 2 rounds into this one. So taking that streak away from you. So well done, Sebastian.
Yeah, thank you. Good race, Blake.
You too, mate. As I reckon, it's probably good to have a teammate beat me. I think
Yeah, that is 1-2 combination for MSR.
that's it, mate.
All right, congratulations, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.
And there we have the conclusion for round 3. That was Sebastian and Blake. We're going to get Robbie jumping into the chat there. So we just talking to Sebastian and Blake. So it's good to see that fantastic battle. They've been putting on a great show for MSR. And then we will be having round 4 coming up. And next week it is Alton Park Circuit in the Island configuration. So it will be some very intense, exciting racing with the Spec Racer Fords for the round 4, so be sure to check that out. If you haven't hit that follow button, do so. You can also check out our YouTube channel. All our past broadcasts are saved over there. You can go back through and catch all the previous action from this series plus others. And then if you're in for some more racing, we have live on Thursday 7:30 p.m. for the Group A touring cars on Project Cars 2. So hit that follow button. Appreciate the support and thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you trackside next week.